Hey, Schaefer, let me go back to something here in Indiana because we've been having these discussions about points on the field and left on the field, and I started this a couple of weeks ago that as Nebraska gets more mature, that number will come down, and that spurred Ravi to get into analytics and Moneyball and expected points and all of this stuff, right? And I say all that to say, do you think Nebraska is there a certain amount or different pressure on Nebraska as they go on the road if you feel like you've left points on the field and you're not sure on your kicking game? Is that something that you could see manifesting itself in Bloomington as you look at this matchup on Saturday?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know that Nebraska is playing with a ton of confidence on offense because they're constantly in this like, okay, so it's 3rd and 6 and we're at the 27 going in to score. I mean, do we get aggressive here? Do we just need to get some of those yards because we got to go for it on 4th down because we can't kick a 44-yard field goal? You know, should Dylan be throwing to the end zone? Should he be just trying to get the 1st down? Like, what's the play call on that? They're in a really weird spot. And I'm not trying to make excuses for what they are because they put themselves in this position. They selected their roster. These are the pieces they have. This is where you're at. You're now, 8 weeks into the season. No one's going to feel bad for you. Figure it out. You got to win games. But I do think that makes it difficult as a play caller. I think it makes it difficult for Dylan Raiola. He's got to assess it all real time. How aggressive can I be? How loose can I, it's a tight window, but I know I can get the ball there. Do I do that? Or do I just have to go find the safer play because we might need to go for it on 4th down, and 4th and 2 is better than 4th and 6. So it's just, and then the other hidden part of this whole season that's been weird for me to kind of put together, you don't have a quarterback run game. He's not just going to go get you 5 yards. He's not going to, so there's that aspect of it too that challenges, I think, a little bit what you're calling. So I do wonder if they have some kind of confidence issues on offense, that this isn't the kind of game you want to be coming in with sort of confidence issues, because it's not like they can just turn around and hand it to their running backs and go get 175 yards in this game on Saturday. I don't think they have the ability to do that. So they're going to have to be able to pass. They're going to have to be able to control the ball, and they're going to have to hit on some big plays. You're going to have to make big plays on 3rd down. They lack sort of explosion, which is weird to say. I thought they'd be a more explosive offense than they are, but you're not getting explosive run plays unless it's dressed up with Ja'Cory Barney. The explosive pass plays feel like they've kind of come down to where they're more intermediate level, but you're not getting 45-yard chunks, and you're not getting a lot of yards after catch. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but it's not like you're getting the throws where a guy then just is able to finish it 35 yards away with a touchdown. I mean, they're just in this weird spot where every drive there's this heightened level of tension where you got to score and you can't allow yourself to kick a field goal, and you got to go from, sometimes your own 4-yard line. You got to go get that touch. There's just a lot of pressure, and I don't know that the confidence is at an all-time high, especially coming off of that Rutgers game. I think the bye week was mentally as much as it was physically. They get a chance to reset, put together new ideas, and put together sort of a game plan to go after this Indiana team. I think they were a little burned out mentally. I really do, because there's been a lot of pressure that maybe we haven't done a good job of assessing that was there on this.
Yeah, like you mean the every week referendum pressure? Or?
Well, that's just where we are with college football. I mean, I don't even think that's a Nebraska
and you know what's
thing
funny
anymore.
about that, Mike J, is this should be the year that it's lax, because it truly is week to week. Like, there should be no definitive judgments made after one game, because clearly,
we've seen everybody
go through this.
Right. But I just think, and this isn't like a Nebraska fan thing, I just think this is where we are kind of with sports. I mean, we do this with the NFL, and it's the dumbest league to do it with, because the playoffs, when they come around, that truly is, win and go on and lose and go home. Like, that's when your referendums start. It doesn't matter if a team loses a game in week 5 in the NFL. So in college football, where you have an expanded playoff, we shouldn't be as upset when a team drops a game, or we shouldn't be spending so much time like, oh, the SEC looks like this and the Big Ten looks like this. I mean, it's week 8 Like there's still so much season left. Nebraska had 6 games remaining of varying levels of difficulty, and I expect that they're going to win several of these. And I don't know that it needs to be treated as euphoric when they do, but if they go win on Saturday, like what's the reaction going to be from people? Is it going to be, all right, this Nebraska team is definitely going in the right direction, huge win on the road against a ranked team? Or are we going to get, and this is what we've seen so far this year, well, they played Indiana and they beat Indiana, even though we built up Indiana to be this behemoth, but then you don't get the credit for actually beating them. I mean, we did that with Rutgers. Rutgers was supposed to be this great team, but now Rutgers is trash. Did you see what they did to Wisconsin? Nebraska couldn't do that.
Oh, my favorite is after Illinois, and Illinois goes, it's like, oh, it's Illinois.
Yeah.
And
again,
then
I
they go
don't
to
think
Penn
this is
State,
a Nebraska
like, oh, they
fan
lost
thing.
a close game, and then it's like, well, how did Illinois give up 49 to Purdue? They must. I'm like, just stop. Like, it's almost impossible to be right.
Well, I just, and again, I don't, it's not a Nebraska fan thing. I just think like we live in a very immediate reaction society. All of us participate in this. We all have our corners of what we do in the sports media, and we put our reactions and everything out there. And it has just become, instead of allowing the season to build upon itself, it has become, this is where we are this week. How are we feeling about it? How's it look for next week? Everything going to be okay? Oh no, they lost a game. Oh no, the defense doesn't look good this time. Like, and it bleeds over into the immediate moments of a game too.
If
It's hard to watch sports this way. I mean, it really is. And I'm guilty of it too. I do it with the Vikings. I mean, every time they're up 17-0 and then the game finishes 23-17, and I'm over here like, man, they blew. This should have been a blowout, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's just the nature of how we intake sports because of the way the media and everything has evolved. I mean, I think we're all participating in immediate reaction, and the immediate reaction is always emotional. It's always swift. And very rarely are you taking the deep breath to be like, okay, these are the important 5 things that came out of it.
Schaefer, if you had to pick a unit that you want to play well on Saturday because you feel it leads most to a win, who is it?
Defense.
Agree.
Because if that defensive line is as good as I think they are, I think they take control of that game and they make Indiana play a version of football they haven't had to play all year. They haven't been put in a physical game like that all season. They've been able to dictate terms. They've been able to get out to leads. They've been able to play their style of football. They put people on ice skates. If Nebraska's and that's what Nebraska did to Colorado. And I know Indiana isn't Colorado. There's differences in what they do and who the personnel are. And there's a big difference between Bloomington and Lincoln and what that environment's going to be like. But your defensive line, your defensive line can set the tone of games. And I think Nebraska's got a defensive line that can do that. And if they come out and they play well on Saturday, the rest of the pieces will fall into place for that defense. And Indiana will have pressure they haven't faced all year. How do they react to that? Maybe it spirals a little bit out of control. What does a game look like for Indiana if they have to come from behind in the second half? Mm-hmm. What does a game look like for Indiana if it's not just a bunch of easy run plays early and then throws all over the field? I mean, so if Nebraska's defensive line, and I'll go further than just picking a side of the ball, give me that unit. If that unit plays well on Saturday, Nebraska will win that game.
Man, after my heart, I said this is Nebraska's D-line against Indiana's O-line on Monday.
Schaefer, I want to return to a question that we've kind of been asking throughout the day, and we had an Indiana guy on earlier. We asked this too, but do you think the late scoring that Coach Rule brought up with Indiana, it's 80 points in the fourth quarter, it's 52 of those in the fourth quarter of the Power 5 games that they've played in
Northwestern, Indiana, and UCLA, or Illinois, or Maryland. I'm sorry.
And do you look at that and say, hey, that's a team that finishes strong, or that's a team that piles on?
I don't know that I look at it one way or the other. I mean, they're all sort of, unique contexts for any of them. It's not like against Northwestern, they were bringing their bench in when they were up by 10 points. So it made sense for them. The play goes how it goes and you get a touchdown. I don't know what to make of it. I think that they have an ability to, against inferior opponents, distance themselves that maybe makes the overall score, in the parlance of one Michael Brunt, scroll better. But I don't know that it's I certainly didn't think they were 17 points better than Northwestern team. I didn't think that game was a 17 point. I think it was a 17 point difference in that score. But they were able to pull away late. I think some of that has to do with who they played. I mean, I don't want to take things away from Indiana, but they haven't really played good football teams. So they've done what you expect teams to do, and they played their starters deep into games. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're not pulling Curtis Rourke when they're winning 77-0 or whatever.
He's right. That's what Ken Bykoff said too. He's like, their starters play late. Like he felt like it was a reflection of their coach staying on the gas.
Well, I think they want to, they have to build their program how they want to build their program. Yep. And so their idea is, hey, we want you to have this confidence in all parts of the game. We want you to bury somebody. We want you to have that feeling. Like I think that's what Indiana wants to try to build in their program, because they've been kind of beaten down over the years. And so I get it from that perspective, but I think it can be a little bit misleading to a degree.
That's Mike J. Schaefer, Husker 24/7. Schaefer, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, I want you guys to go get a dub today. I don't need to see Garrett Cole get it going.
I agree. All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks.
Okay, buddy.